Hello, this is the Excel spreadsheet for data collected in the caffeine experiment. And in this experiment, students learn to monitor their heart rate using apps on the phone or watches or even the finger against the throat. And they were asked to test their heart rate a few times, make sure they can do it correctly. And then every 2 minutes, they sat and they looked at their heart rate for 30 seconds. They sat calmly, and then they prepped their drink. They went and got their water, their caffeinated drink. And then they sat calmly after they got up and did those things. Then they took a good smell of the drink. They took a little taste of the drink. And then they fully drank the drink over the course of 4 minutes, monitoring their heart rate every 2 minutes, and then they sat calm till about 30 minutes. And if you look at the data, you have several things. You have their gender, the kind of drink they drank, how much, the level of caffeine in terms of milligrams, and here we just have the group. So if you scroll down, you can see that all of this group, all of these people in blue, they just drank water. And all of these people down here, they drank caffeinated drinks. And some of the drinks didn't have a lot of caffeine in them, and some, you can see, had more. Mountain Dew, Red Bull, coffee had 96. This was their best estimate of the caffeine that was in the drink they drank. You can see up here, when they're drinking a lot, like energy drinks, they had a lot of caffeine in them. Some of these aren't extremely accurate, and what I had to do is go through and change a few things that they got wrong. For example, I had to look up if they said, for example, they might say a can of Pepsi only had 10 milligrams of caffeine. Well, I know that's not true, and I had to go and change it. You can also see there are spots that have no data. Well, in this experiment, if they weren't able to record their heart rate, they just left that time blank, and that's okay. I also removed several participants, probably around 8, that were giving numbers that just weren't reasonable. Heart rates of 800 and 1,000. They just misinterpreted how they were supposed to write things down. Heart rates are going to go from about 40 up to maybe 110, 120. You can see there were a few that were exceeding that by a little bit. This person, we call it being tachycardic, having a heart rate above 100. There's a lot you could do with the data. What I did was simply take an average of all the water, the heart rate for all the water, and an average for all the ones that did the caffeine for each point. I can graph this simply by highlighting it, coming up here, insert, graph. Now I'm going to use a line graph because it represents testing happening over time. And there's our graph. The water group, you can see their heart rate stayed relatively the same, and actually as they stayed relaxed got down a little bit. It went up a little bit when they were drinking, and it went up a little bit when they were just prepping the drink. Why do you think it went up when it prepped the drink? Well, they probably had to get up and move, got the heart rate going. And you can see that the orange group represents the caffeinated group, and even before drinking the drink, you can see it starting to get a little higher. This is because the smell and the taste of the drink that they drink often is a signal that they're about to get some delicious caffeinated drink that they like. So either the caffeine itself or the anticipation of something pleasurable is elevating their heart rate. In other words, if you drink Dr. Pepper every day, when you see a maroon can of Dr. Pepper and you open it and you smell it, that is a signal to the brain that you're about to take this drink. I would probably change some of these axes and make the graph look a little bit prettier. But there's other things you could do with the data. You could sort by males and females and see if there's some differences in how they respond to water and caffeine. You could just do the caffeinated group and just look at, maybe divide them into low caffeinated, medium, and high caffeinated group and take averages of those, seeing if caffeine has an effect on their heart rate over the course of the experiment. I hope you enjoy working with the data.